نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us tawfiq to come to His house. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our coming here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our waiting here for salah, accept all forms of ibadat that we may be engaged in with His tawfiq. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq to do more and more. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. For past few Fridays we have been talking about the special benefits that we get from Hajj, from this great ibadah of Hajj. For this Friday, I wanted to continue on talking about those special benefits, and I decided to look into the khutbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he gave on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, Yawm Arafah, on his one and only Hajj. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam only performed one Hajj during his lifetime. He only performed one Hajj during his lifetime, and that is called Hajjatul Wida', in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave that khutbah, which is also called Khutbatul Wida' as well, because he gave some instructions which are treated as wasiyat of a father leaving his family. We will inshallah get to know the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the translation of the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he said in his last and the only Hajj that he performed on 9th of Dhul Hijjah. Another thing that I want to point out or to bring in our attention is that when the news of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wanting to perform Hajj, there are riwayat that almost a group of 90,000 companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam also started traveling with him from and surrounding of Madinah Munawwara. By the time he made it to Arafat, the gathering had consisted of almost 100,000 people. And this is only a mu'jiza of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that almost 100,000 people or more were able to listen to what he was saying. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam started his khutbah with praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which gives us the indication that he wanted to remind us of Tawheed and Risala. This is the first message, or this is one of the many important messages that he gave, and he chose to start, as usual, he chose to start his khutbah with praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with testifying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one, and then he was the last prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he said, "O people, pay attention to me, as I don't know if after this year I will be with you or not. Therefore listen to what I'm saying very carefully and take these words to those people who are not present here today." We may take it as a statement made by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but there are many messages in there too, and I'd like to point out one by one. I'd like to point out those messages for us. How do we take benefit of those words that were said by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 1444 years ago, right? So the message that we get out of this is that whenever the words of Allah and His Rasul are mentioned, and there is some mention of some transmittance of the word of Allah and His Rasul's message, we should all be paying full attention to it. This is the wasiyat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam indirectly to us, that any time the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being passed on, everyone should be giving full attention to it. Once again he said, listen to what I'm saying to you very carefully and take these words to those people who are not here today. The second message that we get out of this is the importance of doing tabligh. Be it in any form, be it in the form of the people who are involved in the tablighi work, be it in the form of that we have, whatever we have learned, we pass it on, be it in the form of teaching our own selves while teaching our children and our families and our communities. Be part of the work of deen in any level, any stage, any status you can. We don't just live our life like, we usually do, but according to this hadith, these words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we are all responsible for passing on. For one, continue to learn. The first message was, listen attentively, meaning, keep on, continue to learn, act upon it and pass it on. O people, just as you regard this month of Zul-Hijjah, this day, the day was Yawm Arafah, which is the 9th of Zul-Hijjah. The city was the surrounding of Makkah Mukarramah as sacred. So regard the life and property of every Muslim as a sacred trust. Once again, O people, just as you regard this month, this day, this city as sacred, so regard the life and property of every Muslim as a sacred trust. We do find ourselves, Ramzan ka mahina hai, we shouldn't be lying. Ramzan ka mahina hai, or Zul-Hijjah ka mahina hai, or Muharram ka mahina hai. This is the month of Muharram, or this is the month. I remember, because we grew up in Pakistan, month of Muharram was reminded as, Mahe Muharram, you shouldn't be playing music. Mahe Muharram, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be cursing. You shouldn't be fighting. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is also reminding us that this place of Makkah, the day of Yawm Arafah, the month of Zul-Hijjah, is as sacred as they can be in your heart, in your eyesight. But remember, the trust of a Muslim's life, his honor, and his property is just as sacred. And it's not only for these months, it's throughout our life. It's throughout the 12 months, it's throughout our life. Return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. In the light of these words of Rasulullah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we may be holding on to something that we may have borrowed with good intentions to return, but we may have forgot about it. Maybe after listening to this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's beautiful words as a reminder, as a wasiyat to all, this was not a wasiyat to the companions. This was actually a wasiyat to the believing men and women until the day of the end of time. So return the goods entrusted to you to their rightful owners. Another important point: hurt no one, so that no one may hurt you. Hurt no one, so that no one may hurt you. One act of violence will yield another act of violence. One misbehavior will lead to another misbehavior. Every action has a reaction. So let's not be the ones to initiate, to bring problem in the society, in the community, in our homes, because it will yield something similar or worse. In a way, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is giving us a strategy or a recipe to keep peace in our homes, at our workplace, in our communities, and throughout the city. Hurt no one, so no one hurts you. The next reminder is about taqwa, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says, remember that you will indeed meet Allah and that He will indeed reckon your deeds. Reminder of our death, reminder of our meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as this one reminder is enough to keep us on the right track. And I give example of this a lot of times. We all drive, we all have houses, and we all have other responsibilities. And one way to make sure that we are on track is that we know that if we are going to be violating the speed laws or other laws of, the housing violations, one thing, we may have to go to the court. We may have to go to the judge. And that one fear that we have, it will keep us on track when we are driving. Even, and we find ourselves, even it's dark, there's nobody watching us, we know that there are no police officers, and we make sure, not just because of the safety of ourselves, but we don't want to get in trouble. Maybe there is somebody, maybe there is a photo camera, maybe there is a cop, there is a patrol car hiding behind some bridge that may ticket us. That fear of being held accountable for what we are doing will keep us on the right track. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in these words are reminding us of keeping taqwa throughout our lives. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it haram for you to take interest. Therefore, all interest obligations will henceforth be waived. Interest was a common practice at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The family members of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were also giving or taking interest before this khutbah. And at that time, he made it haram upon all of even family members or anyone outside the family to give or to take interest. Now, in our communities, we might find reasons, I don't want to waste so much money in giving rent. And usually, outside Buffalo, if you live in New York City or surroundings of New York City, a person who is renting a house, he easily gives out good $30,000 minimum per year for rent. Easy. Along with other obligations that they may have, and keeping the house intact and being responsible for all the tickets if there are any violations. And a lot of times this thought of, hey, listen, I'm paying $30,000. Let's just buy the house on interest and inshallah we'll ask for it. Well, what about the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? What about the wasiyat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Sometime, let's compare this wasiyah with the wasiyah of our parents, of our elders. And we go through it. A lot of times I receive phone calls that, we have, our grandfather has died and he has made the wasiyat that he wants to be buried in Pakistan. He wants to be buried in India or in Bangladesh. And we have to fulfill this wasiyah. First thing is that we want to find out, Maulana, is this okay for me to do that? Right? But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to compare ourselves with following that wasiyah of our parents with the wasiyah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is giving a clear indication, not even an indication, clear words that interest is made haram upon you to give or take. Any excuses, any hila, any reason, what answer we will have on the day of judgment for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and for more so in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will neither inflict nor suffer any inequity, masawat, that we talked about for the past 2 Fridays as well, that all of us are created equal in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The best among us, the more deserving of honor, among us is the one who has more taqwa. Beware of shaitan for the safety of your religion. He has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things meaning shirk. So be aware of following him in small things. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam wants to remind us about our great enemy, shaitan. Shaitan will come and make us and guide us actually, and guide us in doing things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want us to do. So he wants us to be aware of that. Oh people, it is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women. Another important thing, you know, a lot of times when we listen to the things outside, when we listen to the media, we may come up with the belief that yes, Islam does suppress women. Islam does not give right. And when other people, be it Muslims or non-Muslim, when they bring examples like, you know, why the woman give talaq? This is not equality. This is not musawat. This is not justice. Why can't women work outside? You know, why is that we are responsible for having two sacrifice when there is a male child born, and why is there one sacrifice when there is female child born? Doesn't it sound like, you know, injustice to women? When we hear these words, let's compare what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is saying. Maybe when we hear these words, we may not know the wisdom behind it. And if we don't understand the wisdom behind it, it will not be justice for us, it will not be adl for us to just take one side and believe in it without sitting down with the scholars and finding out what the wisdom is. Before advent of Islam, before Islam, there was sacrifice done at the birth of only a male child. There was no sacrifice for a female child. What used to happen at the birth of female child? People used to bury them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls that person and gives us the description of that person's feeling, that he used to feel कि उसका मुंह काला हो गया. His face has turned black. This was the treatment that people at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, before these instructions had come, used to give to women. Father used to feel like, I have been disgraced. I have a female child born and I have to go bury him alive. And the person who used to bury the daughters alive used to be treated as a man of honor at that time. Islam not only wiped that out, in fact mentioned it in the Quran. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. How much adl, how much rights Islam has given to women folk. It's unbelievable. As we said last time, no society, no ideology, no system, no madhab, no religion has given the rights that what Islam has given. To some time, not too long ago, less than 100 years ago, not many of you are aware of that, in other madhahib, in Christianity, let's make it very straightforward, in Christianity, there was no talaq option. The men could not even give talaq to their wife. There were only certain conditions that men could give talaq, and that talaq, that divorce was not that a man could give. They had to travel to the court of England. So the person living in Maine, go study the history of talaq here. How did all of this talaq, the matter of divorce, got into the hands of the court? Because people had to go. There is no talaq in Christianity. So if a man wanted to give talaq, certain nonsense conditions had to be met and found in women. Only then the court of England would give the right, will actually give talaq. Men could not give talaq. We have a concept of khula. So this is not true for someone to believe that Islam does not give right to the woman to give talaq. This is not the subject that we want to talk about. I just want to clear the mist in some minds that when we hear other sides, we take lesson from them that yeah, it may be, you know, we do find Islam not giving justice, social justice, and Islam is not being adil, being munsif with women. This is not true. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that it is true that you have certain rights with regard to your women, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under a trust from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and with His permission. These are the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam being translated. If they follow, if they abide by your right, then to them belongs the right to be fed and clothed in kindness. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam's Hujjatul Wida contains a wasiyat for us men to be kind with our spouses, with our wives. Do treat your women well and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. This is a reminder to the women folk. And it is your right that they do not make friends with anyone of whom you do not approve of, as well as never to be unchaste, unmodest of. O people, listen to me with all your attention. Worship Allah, perform your 5 daily prayers, fast during the month of Ramadan, and offer zakah. Perform Hajj if you have the means to. All mankind are born from Adam and Hawa alayhim as-salatu was-salam. We are all sending our children to schools. And those who are sending their children to school, do yourself and your children a favor. Pick up the books, pick up the notebooks, pick up the diaries, the daily diaries that they are given from the schools, and go through those pages. I'm not saying take the kids out of your school, their schools. I'm saying pay attention to what they are learning. And if you find something out of the boundaries of Islam, that's when you take the action. That's when it becomes wajib upon you to take the actions. Remember that we want to be successful in this country as well. We want to live like law-abiding citizens. We want to hold positions here. But if those dreams are going to turn our children into something else. I just received a note from one of the sisters of the community saying that one child was being introduced in the school. This is only 2 days ago. Handwritten letter by a sister here. Some child was introduced in the school about having all rights to do anything that you want to do with your body. Slowly, the child started, and I'm not going to mention if it's a female child or a male child, whoever it is, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on the child and the parents as well. Slowly, the child wanted to experiment. They started going, he started going to the doctor. And when the parents found out, it was not little too late. It was too late. So if you're sending your children to public school, be it kindergarten, elementary school, high school, pay attention to what they're learning. I will take a step ahead and pay attention to what they're learning if you're sending your children to Madaaris and Islamic school as well. It's your responsibility. The school only plays 50% partnership with you. You are the 50% partner, and the school is a 50% partner, and our Rasul Mal, our capital, is our children. The school administration is not the owner of your children, of our children. Become part of your school administration, of your school team, of your child's learning team in growing them up. Don't just hand over. And I'm again inviting all of the parents who are sending their children to Darul Ulum Al-Madaniyah, come forward. Be partner with us in upbringing of your children. Help us guide your children in the right way. Don't just hand over. Remember, institutions are not like washing machines where you put the children, press the button, and the only thing that you expect is that the clothes are going to come out pure, ready for you to perform salah. Everyone in the school, be it madrasa, Islamic schools, public schools, comes with a baggage. We as teachers also have our baggages. The students that we are receiving also have their baggages. Pay attention to what they're learning. Be part of the team that is making an effort to help your child grow. Teachers are like bridges. They're taking the load of all the students in their class in the school, helping them cross the ocean of ignorance to guidance. They will break sometime. They will bend sometime. They also need support system. And their support system is not only going to come from the principal. It does not only come from a pay raise. It also comes from the parents as well. So be part of the school team. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, with the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll talk about the rest of the khutbah, the translation of the words of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, next Friday inshallah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.